Everlytics Marketing Cloud gives you the power to build meaningful relationships with your target markets at the best marketing ROI. From email newsletters to digital invoices, SMS notifications, social sharing, and everything in between, Everlytic covers all your digital communication needs. Create content-rich, mobile responsive emails in minutes with our simple drag-and-drop editor, or get a head start by using one of our pre-built email templates that cover a wide variety of events. Automate a series of messages for easy lead nurturing, onboarding of new customers, or educational campaigns using our Drip Campaign Builder. Use A/B split testing to determine the best performing email to send to your database and get superior results from your campaigns. Ensure full integration of your overall marketing strategy and improve the reach of your campaign by linking to your social media accounts and track interactions on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Create more targeted campaigns by segmenting your database according to demographics or subscriber behavior. Compare and optimize the performance of your campaigns by using the powerful reporting tool. See how subscribers are interacting with your content, what devices they are using to read your emails, and where they are located geographically. Make reviewing before deployment simple with our workflow approval tool. Set up triggers to respond automatically to subscriber actions, such as sending follow-up emails, adding them to a list, or sending an internal notification based on an SMS reply. Also, keep the personal information in your database up to date by automatically sending an SMS to a recipient if their email address bounces, or allow your customer real-time access to update their profile. Create personalized multi-part SMS messages in seconds. Ensure compliance with our automated opt-out processing, and view replies. Make Everlytic a centralized hub for all your email and SMS communications. Get closer to your target market with Everlytics Marketing Cloud.
All right, so just a brief introduction. I'm the marketing manager for Everlytic, and I'm also the head of online and brand for Vox Telecom. Everlytic is a Vox company, so that's just to give you guys some context. And I thought, just to break the ice, I'll tell you guys something that I normally don't tell anyone, especially not my 10-year-old daughter. It's a really random fact about me, and it's more just to break the ice for me than for anybody else. Oh, they just can't hear us at the back. Okay, I'll try to scream a bit louder. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, kind of. It's his fault. Okay, so my random fact is that I really hate cooked carrots. Because when I was busy with this presentation, my daughter was sitting with me and telling my mom, and we were fighting about cooked carrots, and thought that was my random fact. Anyway, getting to why we are here today. So thank you very much for allowing me to come and present this to you guys. It's basically the state of email marketing as we see it, but this is about how we are operating with email within our marketing departments and within companies. This is not an official piece of research. It was actually something done by myself and my team based on a discussion that we had in a corridor where we thought we actually want to know whether what we're saying and what is out there is meeting up and what we think. So the research was done, 190 companies participated, and it's about a 60-40% split between Everlytic existing clients. So we have a lot of big clients, including Discovery, F&B, the Fushini Group, and then non-existing clients, so people from outside that are currently doing email marketing, doing it really well, that wanted to participate. So that was the state of it. Oh, the clicker's really not working. Okay, so just to kickstart, something that we had to ask a whole bunch of questions, and as we know, as marketers, we kind of have to lead somebody down a journey to actually get to where we want to go to. So first of all, we wanted to know who does this. Do you outsource it to a third party or an agency, or is most of it done in-house? So 95% indicated that they in fact do it in-house, and about 5% said that they outsource it to a third party or an agency. We thought, though, from an Everlytic point of view, because we work so closely with our clients, we do think the 5% is a bit low, because most people do, in fact, outsource. But then when we got into the research, we realized that what's happening quite a bit now is that you tend to outsource your creative. Can you hear me? Must I talk louder? Oh, there we go. Is that better? Okay. I don't normally work with these. Okay. All right, so we wanted to know, so 95% of people do in-house, 5% is outsourced. It's actually quite a bit higher than that. But what we did see is that a lot of people tend to outsource their creative, but the actual sending, the putting together the lists and all of that is now done in-house, which is quite interesting. It's changing. Of course, we wanted to know who predominantly handles the email marketing function. No surprises here. Marketing managers formed 69%, or marketing departments, followed by the communications department. And the 14% really was like your sales team, your finance team, logistics. We got all kinds of interesting stuff there. So again, no real surprises, but it was good to know. But this is the one that fascinated me the most, and this is the one that we were asking questions about. So we asked people in terms of who does it, what's the title of the person that's currently doing this function within your organization? And what I thought was really interesting is, again, we expect to see marketing managers and digital marketers, nothing new. And the 50% of other was about 20 to 30 other different titles, ranging from CEO to the accounts person to the admin person and anything in between. But what I wanted to see is email marketing specialists starting to rank? Are these becoming titles that are within our departments? And in fact, that is all independent, so we didn't actually lead people to say this, but we started seeing email marketing strategists, and email specialists coming up quite a bit. So this is really exciting, because for me, this is starting to see the world. I mean, you guys all know SEO. And SEO specialists came out a couple of years ago and kind of started trending, and it would seem that email marketing specialists are now starting to trend as well. And it'll be interesting to see these stats in about another year from now, because a year ago, we didn't see this. A year later, we're starting to see this more and more. This is also interesting. I mean, how many of you do you have to talk to, like, kids that are in college and want to study marketing? And they all want to study marketing, which is such a wide field. But suddenly, it actually becomes interesting because all these different paths are opening up for them. So I will talk about this a little bit in more context a bit later on. So the next thing we wanted to know was about the objectives. So in terms of when you do email marketing, in fact, when you do marketing in general, there's some core objectives. And this question, we kind of left it quite broad, so you could select make multiple selections. And this is really the crux of if you're doing email marketing, this is really you'll either fit in one or multiple of these boxes. I hate putting people in boxes, but for lack of a better word. So you get your brand and PR awareness. You're either increasing your website traffic, your lead generation, upselling or cross-selling existing clients. Quite interesting that that's only 17%. So a lot of marketers are not actually using the opportunity, even though you are doing email marketing, you're not actually cross-selling or upselling to your current customers. And of course, your e-commerce and online sales. But I'm actually going to interchange between two slides. It's quite a good thing that the clicker doesn't work, because the damn thing, I can flip around. So of course we know about the objectives we want to achieve, but then we also need to look at how are we going to measure these things and about the metrics behind it. So standard email marketing metrics, I mean, I'm sure you guys know about this. Let me pause here half a second. I prefer to engage with the audience. How many of you have currently got or engaging in email marketing in some way, shape, or form? Okay, there's some of you not yet. Okay, we'll convert you. It's all right. So in terms of metrics that we use in email marketing, you're looking at click-through rates, open rates, usually how many were delivered. That talks to your database integrity. Your unsubscribe rate, I'm going to talk about this one quite a bit, because 77 is quite a high number, and it's definitely something that we've seen increase substantially. And of course, your social sharing rate. Still, people are not quite comfortable with the social sharing side, but that's okay. Your conversion to objectives rate, and as well then as your sales revenue. So these are all standard metrics. And like I say, it's interesting to see the high numbers, because again, when we did this kind of research about 2 years back, people weren't sure on how to measure email. But how do we measure email, tracking it back, and what do we see? So this is just a little bit of anecdotal stuff going back to our objectives. So I'm going to use lead generation as I'm going to use lead generation as my example. So what often happens is that we tend to measure the direct metrics of email, and then you don't actually follow it all the way through. But actually, in order to be really good and know whether what you're putting out is working or not working for you, you should be tracking the funnel all the way through. So I'll use an example. You send out, I'm actually going to use one of my, they're not a client, but I get their emails and I think they do a fantastic job, and that's YouCook. Anybody else do YouCook? Oh, they're fabulous. That's just free advertising. I'm a really bad cook, so they're fantastic. So what YouCook does is that they actually send you a mailer and say, hi Vera, so it's very personalized, very together. They give me cooking tips because I really suck at them, and they somehow know this and I'm not offended in any way. And they'll tell me about what the meals of the week are because I've signed on. They've found out what it is that I'm interested in, so they've done all that pre-work. And when I click on something on their mailer, I go to what we call a landing page. And on their landing page, there's some point of conversion. So usually, they will normally track increased website traffic, so they want me to go onto their website, but they might give me a lead generation as well. Would I be interested in any of their other products, for example? They're tracking this on both levels. You should be tracking your landing page through Google Analytics. You should have a UTM code. How many of you guys know what a UTM code is? Okay, very few people. Google Analytics, guys, it's so fundamental. You need a tracking code, and you can put a tracking code into your email marketing that then tracks it back into Google Analytics. When you're in Google Analytics and when you're tracking your pages to see whether what you're doing is actually working, you can then link it through by a UTM code. You can Google it. It's on there. It's a really cost-effective, it's a really good way, and as marketers and as a digital age, we're so inundated with the data, everybody should be understanding, especially Google Analytics, which is free, but there are other packages. So let me go back to the metrics side, and I'm going to actually pause a little bit on unsubscribe rates, because this for me is the exciting one. So we always profess, people get so, when you see people unsubscribing to your mailers or to any of your communication, marketers' hearts kind of palpitate, right? Like, why do these people not like me anymore? And what am I doing wrong? So we say that's okay. They don't have to like us. And if you want to unsubscribe, that's 100%. The reason being, you guys all know spam. Okay, here I got a whole bunch of heads bopping. So everybody knows about spam. And the thing about an unsubscribe rate is that if you keep sending somebody a mail and they don't want to know about you and they don't want to hear about your brand, you're actually spamming them. Maybe you're not. Maybe they did subscribe at some point, but they're not going to see it that way. They will see it as you're being a spammer. So the best way to avoid that is that it's okay if we don't want to talk to me anymore. Let them unsubscribe. Make it easy for them to unsubscribe. And what we're seeing is that a couple of years ago, this wasn't a metric that was, you kind of had to turn a blind eye. Marketers were so nervous about it. But we're about 4 years down the line into the Poppy conversation. You guys all know about Poppy. So we're about a good 4 or 5 years down the line. It hasn't fully come into effect yet. So we're still waiting for government. But what it did do is that it forced marketers to clean up their acts and clean up their databases. We were in the boardroom the other day and we were sitting with a new client. And like I said, I wear two hats. I wear the Everlytic hat and I wear the Vox hat. And it's interesting how we don't hear clients moaning about spamming anymore, or people externally moaning as much as they used to about spamming. Because nowadays it's okay to unsubscribe and you're keeping that relationship intact with your audience. And if you keep your relationship intact with your audience, they will come back. They will love you again. And it's about keeping that flow open. It's all right. So this is the interesting one. So you have your objective. You know how you're going to measure it. Do we have a plan? And only 47% said they had a plan. So that's quite jarring, I think. Especially because the majority of the companies that answered our survey are people that are saying that they are doing email marketing in some way. And some of these were really big corporates. So for only 47% to say, I'm doing email marketing or I've got a plan, that's quite scary, right? I would have thought it would have been higher. So then I went to my team. We had a bit of a powwow. So we have something called powwows. There's 13 little chickens. They tend to run quite wild, so we have to powwow every now and then. And I asked them, what do you guys think this is all about? Like, why do we not have a plan? And it actually boils down to being overwhelmed. So when you're talking about an email marketing strategy, it can be incredibly overwhelming. A digital strategy can be incredibly overwhelming because no longer we have to talk in segments. You have to talk personal. I need to know everybody's name in this room in order for me to be interactive with you. And that's a pretty daunting task. So if I go back to my objectives, and let's just talk lead generation. For every single one of these points, especially when you do digital marketing, but actually digital and traditional are becoming so merged that it's marketing now. Every single one of these has not got one user journey. You guys all know user journeys. I'm sure it's something that you should be familiar with. But it's a user journey is essentially how am I getting from my couch in my living room onto your brand, and how am I finding that, or anywhere else that I might find myself. And a user journey, I mean, the best way, I loved it. I did a talk a couple of days ago, and the guy said to me, how do I find out from you when I'm in my living room? And I said to him, well, we don't do pigeons yet that will know that you're looking for us. So what will you do? And he says, well, I'll Google. And that's where your user journey starts right there. So every single point that you go down is a point in the user journey. And every single point that you touch that person is a place where you should be communicating. And just one stream, if you just look at your lead generation stream, that can have multiple touch points, which can be incredibly overwhelming for marketers, especially on the complexity of your organization. So, okay, cool. Well, let me just keep it this way. Okay, so what do? And the best thing to describe it is good old-fashioned pen and paper and write it on a wall. I mean, in my team, what we do is we've got these big white boards all over, and when we're feeling overwhelmed and we need to plot a user journey out, we literally plot it out in writing. We find that spreadsheets can be great, but not the whole team actually can see it. We find that anybody can go up to that and write. They can write on it at any point, and so you're identifying more and more your steps. And at each level, not only are you talking about your email marketing strategy, you're also talking about your digital strategy and other ways in which you're starting to connect with your users. This is the one we love to hate, revenue. How are you tracking back your revenue? So again, if you have access to Google Analytics and you're on a revenue and you're able to put in your mailer, so I'm going to use the e-commerce example. It's an easy one to understand, and everybody kind of interacts with it at some way, shape, or level. Who buys shoes? Everybody buys shoes? Lots of people buy shoes, right? Okay, so you'll know that Zando sends out an emailer. They've got a voucher on there, and that voucher will have a number. You will click on that voucher, you'll put that voucher on their website. By that voucher number, if they have a good bulk email distributor, you'll be able to track down that voucher number to that voucher straight down to that mailer. And that actually completes the journey. So e-commerce is quite straightforward, but I'll give you the Everlytic example as a marketer at Everlytic. So Everlytic is B2B. I don't talk to mass audiences. How do I track my ROI and my revenue back? Because ROI, I'll just show you that slide quickly as well. It's only 30%, so it's actually quite a daunting, quite low as well. So at Everlytic, what we do is that every single person that comes onto our website, I'm able to track. And when you fill in an inquiry form, I know that you've come through my mailer because of the UTM code. So it's all about tracking. You've got to get better at tracking stuff and tags. I then am able to know that the person that completed my form, we've actually got two ways of doing it. You can do it through analytics, or you can do it through some fancy software. I know that Joe Soap that filled out my form came through from an emailer, and I can actually track the amount of time that he came through on analytics, and therefore if he converts on my sales team, because then we put that stuff into our CRM, so you guys can see how the journey actually all links up. I put that into my CRM, and when he converts, I get a flag. So I know exactly for every mailer that I send out, by tracking it back, I know who converts on my mailers. And sometimes it's not about volume. I know we've got clients that have hundreds of thousands of databases, and they get upset when their open rates or their click-through rates are very low. But if it is relevant and if it is personalized, that's not a bad thing. Because if you can track it back to return on investment, because you guys know that sending an email is one of the most cost-effective ways of doing marketing. If you track it correctly, you actually will know what your return on investment and your revenue is as well. Last slide. Oh, that was the ROI one. Okay, last slide. So this is the one, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So when I was a junior, Every conference that I ever attended by some of the great CMOs of this country, all of them said, you've got to push hard. You've got to push hard to get a seat at the boardroom table. How many of you guys have heard that? Get a seat at the boardroom table. Because if you get, I know, right? But you know what, when I see 56% frequently talk about email marketing, which is quite a niche thing, it's quite a tight subject, that tells me we're starting to get room on the boardroom table. And I know a year ago, from a Vox point of view, we didn't actually do a lot of email marketing. So when we took over, it was quite a new thing. Now we can't do about it. It's discussed at every Expo, every mailer that we send out, and all they want to know is how did it do well. And it's probably one of the early ways, because we have a very complex CRM system, how do we track it back so I can account for the revenue and the ROI. That automatically gets me a seat in that boardroom table. And suddenly, where everything was about sales and how am I converting sales, it now becomes about marketing, assisting sales. I always say, it's not to put salespeople out of business, but if we do our jobs really well, of which email is one of the core functions of lead generation, you can actually halve your sales department. And I can tell you for the revenue, that's a proven fact that we have done at Everlytic. So that's my story. Didn't want to keep you guys too long. So in summary, there's a high number of marketers that are still battling and grappling with putting together sound marketing strategies. The difficulty in relating it back to revenue, so that's always a tough one. But I think that's an age-old thing. We always battle. And of course, what got us excited is that people are starting to talk about us, which makes it really open, and it's starting that conversation. Thanks, everyone.